J.J. McCarthy. Take the handoff. And Alec Menace is going to throw a pick. They give it to Cora. Up back. Cora. Touchdown, Wolverine. Ruben Wilson does it again. Finds some daylight. He got some speed and some blocker. Outside. Turns the corner. Blake Cora down the sideline. Looking over the middle. Caught. Touchdown, Wolverine. McCarthy extends the play, now using legs. McCarthy at first down.
Good evening, everybody. Tony Alford, the defensive line coach at Ohio State, has left Ohio State for Michigan to be the defensive line coach at Michigan, and the Buckeyes are not happy about it.
No, running backs coach.
Running backs coach. I knew that.
Should we restart? Let's do it. Take it from the top.
A fantastic start. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 1. Tony Alford, the running backs coach at Ohio State, is leaving Ohio State for Michigan, has left Ohio State for Michigan to be the running backs coach at Michigan, but you know this already. The Buckeyes are not happy about it. You know this already. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about Sharon Moore suspending Greg Scruggs, Nick Saban on Capitol Hill, and the new and improved 14-team college football playoff, or 12 plus, I guess they're calling it. Welcome to the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. This is how things go around here, and you know that because you've seen the show before. All 691 subscribers, by the way, thank you for that. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We're not insiders. We're not professionals. We're just fans who love to talk about football. We hope you love to talk about football, and if you do, join us in the chat. And I have this on the wrong setting, so hold on. There we go. Join us in the chat. I had this all set up and ready to go, and there's always something. This is why we need a producer.
You got your beer, right?
I'm getting there. I may not need it. This may be a problem.
Uh-oh.
I am your host, Clifford, professional web developer, amateur woodworker, sometimes co-host of Big Ten Team Rivalry, although I might get fired after this. Mac, tell us about yourself. What's going on over there?
I am the co-host. My name is Mackenzie. I work in marketing at night. I am a professional Buckeye hunter.
Ooh.
Yep.
Is there good pay in that?
No.
All right.
Not a lot of them up here, honestly. They're not. I also don't own anything that would be effective with hunting Buckeyes. Also, fun fact, Buckeyes are nuts, so you don't really hunt them as much as you gather at them, and yeah.
Pick them, throw them in a bag, and roast them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I was going to try to do an Irish accent to start the show, but obviously that would have been disastrous given how the show started.
Oh, I should have done that. Man, I was going to do that and totally forgot.
St. Patrick's Day is, in fact, a religious holiday. We are celebrating St. Patrick's Day I went to church this morning. Mac, you went to church this morning?
I did go
All
to
right,
church.
so we're good there.
Mm-hmm. Box checked.
St. Patrick's Day, Patrick was kidnapped by an Irish chieftain who enslaved him. Patrick escaped and then brought Christianity back to Ireland and actually ended up baptizing the son of the chieftain who enslaved him in the first place.
Wow.
That's the origin of St. Patrick's Day. And as you know, our connection to that is that your mother is descended from the Doherty clan, who are the ones who kidnapped Patrick in the first place. So as she likes to say, you're welcome.
Yes.
And we're also celebrating by, what do you got over there, Mac? You're drinking what do you got brew-wise?
I was at Trader Joe's yesterday, and I was walking past the wine section, obviously, because that's what you're supposed to do with wine, is just walk right past it to the beer. And I picked up a bottle of Guinness, and I looked at it, and I said, that looks really good. And I held on to it, and as I walked back to the cart, a guy had samples of this beer, and he said, hold on there. Try this instead. And so I did. And I said, you know what? This is good. It's local. I'm going to get this instead. It is a Mr. Irish Stout brewed in beautiful Muskegon, Michigan. Beautiful is debatable, but okay. Anyway, it's a really good beer. So there you go.
Nice. I have an Oddside Paddy's Red, Irish Red Ale. Let me just open this here.
Yes.
There we go.
That's a good beer.
That is good. That's the first one I've ever had.
Boom.
Oh, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
So happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Celebrating with the beer is okay in moderation. Don't drink and drive. And we'll get to that shortly.
Oh boy.
Don't forget to jump in the chat. Tell us if you celebrated St. Patrick's Day today or not. Also, jump in the chat and anytime as we're talking about these stories. Jason Bode, good evening to you. Glad to see you there in the chat. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends and whatnot. We are at 691 subscribers at the start of the show. We're shooting for 750. That's our next goal. And thank you very much for everybody who is watching and subscribed already. We really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to get started with the community poll. And again, here's one of my stunning graphics.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
I grabbed that.
I love it.
I grabbed the artwork there off of the internet, and I typed in the text myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that you also put your St. Patty's Day graphic over our team rivalry name.
Live. Well, yeah. it's the vine is growing across there. It's just how it works.
So no one's gonna know what they're watching, but that's fine. They're just watching. They're just watching Rivalry Live. That's what you're watching.
Right.
Welcome to Rivalry Live, people. All right, what happened?
Okay, community poll. The poll was put up 5 days ago, 114 votes at the time I grabbed this graphic. I don't know what it's up to now. Do you think college football is still worth watching despite the new playoff format and NIL issues? And believe it or not, 63% of you said, heck yeah.
63% had the right answer.
Yep. The 9% who said, nah, I might stop watching, to be honest. Actually, that's part of what we're going to talk about, too.
It is. It's a little sad, honestly.
And I like the 28% that it's annoying, but it's football. So
honestly, okay, if I'm super duper honesty time, that's probably where I'm at. But as soon as the season starts, I don't care. I just want to watch people play football. I just love seeing the winged helmet come out of the tunnel that all the Spartans are afraid of now. And it's great. Okay. Like as soon as the ball is kicked off, I don't care who's getting paid what in NIL. Just win the game, man. Just win the game. Right. It's football. I love football. It's the best time of year, not March Madness, especially when Michigan, never mind.
Good luck to you, Juwan Howard. Hope you can find a new job somewhere. Great players don't always make great coaches. And I think that's just been found out again.
That's a bummer.
Do you think college football is still worth, despite the national playoff or despite the NIL issues? So we had this comment from Eric Riffle.
Eric Riffle. Oh yeah,
Eric Riffle.
Maybe.
It will be worth watching the Wolverines repeat as national champions. Go blue! I think he's absolutely right.
Are the Wolverines repeating? I don't know. That's going to be. If Michigan beats Texas, we'll see it. If they beat them by 2 scores, then maybe. If Michigan wins by
2 scores,
if Michigan beats Texas by 2 scores, then I think that they could repeat. If Michigan wins by 3 scores, then Texas just sucks, and Michigan, we shouldn't read anything into that. That's where I'm at. And
it's going to be interesting this season. Now that with the 4 new teams, what is game number 1? Oh, I forgot to check the schedule again. But they're starting right off the bat with some tough teams. I think game number 1 is still an FCS team, though, if I remember correctly.
I don't think
I just can't remember which one.
I think it's still FBS, but I can't remember who they're playing. I just know that Texas is week number 2, and this is the curse of the offseason. I can't remember the schedule or anything.
Yeah, well, and USC and Oregon, they're playing 3 of them, right? Texas, USC, and Oregon, and I think they're all in their early games.
Is Oregon is
that a later
October game? I think
Yeah.
Oregon's an October game.
All right.
Where the heck is Michigan?
Sorry, I hadn't intended to talk about this, so I didn't look it up. And I don't have it memorized. This is my other issue, is I can't memorize things, which is why I remembered wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why I wrote down defensive coach. I know that he's the running backs coach. Anyway,
Well, we're talking about Greg Scruggs, who's the defensive line coach.
He is the defensive line coach.
Or
Yeah, okay. So that's why I confused that.
Yeah, but Michigan's starting the season off with Fresno State, then
That's
Texas, then Arkansas State, then USC.
Yeah. So a much tougher September than normal.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
especially considering the last 2 years.
It will be an interesting season. The Oregon is a midseason game. What is it? Connor Stallion. Oh, wait a minute. I'm putting this one up. Connor Stallion lives in Ohio State fans' heads.
Yes, he does.
Apparently, he lives in the heads of a lot of teams.
I should put this up as a poll real quick, actually. I had an idea, and we're just kind of shooting the breeze right now as we wait for people to get in. But like, here's an idea. What if we started selling merch, but like they had funny sayings on them? Okay, so I was thinking is a T-shirt, and it could be like a maize and blue colored T-shirt or something, or at least close to it, so we don't get hit with copyright or whatever, however that works. But anyway, the caption is Connor Stallions is an American hero.
I like it.
Would anyone buy that shirt?
I don't know.
I'll put that up as a poll. Connor Stallions is an American hero.
Wait a minute.
Boom.
Swanky Wolverine didn't do that already, did he?
Oh, I should double check that.
You might have to check that one.
We might have to see if we can team up with Swanky and he can make the graphic and then we can put it on a tee and split the profits 50-50.
A team up with Swanky. That would be cool.
That would be sweet. Swanky, if you're watching, hop in my DMs, please.
I'm going to take us over to the viewer comments.
Let's do it.
Again, my fantastic, stunning graphic work. Really, people, if you need graphics work, just give me a call. I can make these graphics in 30 seconds. And it shows.
Yeah, like 4 people just dropped from the stream for that.
Gee,
so.
What is wrong with this guy? That's not a good graphic.
That's a terrible graphic.
So we went through and picked out some fun viewer comments and some interesting viewer comments. The first one is from Feeway, Feeway 6974, and this was off the Is College Football Worth Watching? It looks like it's about sustainability. OSU shelled out $20 million. Last I heard was $13 million, but I don't know if they put out some more. And if they lose a game or two, even if it's not against Michigan, is it worth it? And this is the part that really got me about this comment, is people won't keep donating for an average season. And I had really not considered that. Can you imagine boosters donating tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to this, and then Ohio State still doesn't win the Big Ten or get in the playoffs? I mean, this time they'll get in the playoffs for sure. But imagine not winning the Big Ten and not getting the national championship after donating that kind of money. What do you think? Do you think that people would just all of a sudden say, nah, I got better things to do, or what?
I don't know. I honestly think that people donate no matter what. I mean, weren't boosters giving to Michigan during the Rich Rod and Hoke years like quite a bit?
Oh, for sure. I think they always do.
Yeah.
And they always do in that first year, but I'd be interested to see what the giving was, the donating was from like Rich Rod's first year to Rich Rod's last year, Hoke's first year to Hoke's last year. You know, if it went up or down. I'm certain that with Harbaugh, it was a bit of a zigzag there, and then the last 3 years just kept going up.
Yeah. That's something that we should look into is how much how much boosters donate during specific times, because I feel like it's more, or more during better years, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if people will keep donating. But yeah, I thought it was 13 million as well.
Right.
Actually, I think Buckeyes Battle Cry is in the chat. He might know if did Ohio State pay, was it 13 million or is it up to 20 million in NIL now?
All right, well, wait for him to respond to that one.
Yeah, but we can keep going.
The next comment was from Speed Skater. If this keeps going, Congress is going to have to apply an anti-monopoly legislation against the Big Ten squared. Yeah, if the Big Ten just poaches every team,
Yeah.
Big Ten and the SEC poach all the teams and make their super conferences. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Okay, but also
definitely would have to look into that.
But also, it's never going to happen because, I mean, how many times has Google been in an antitrust lawsuit with the federal government and nothing's happened? Like, I'm pretty sure Google has had an antitrust lawsuit going on with the federal government for the last 10 years. And the reason I know this is because I work in marketing on Google Ads. And so every time, like every couple of months, a new article comes out, Google's being sued, antitrust lawsuit, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Nothing's going to happen. The federal government's not going to do anything about this.
All you got to do is pay off a couple of senators and you're good to go.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Maybe. The last comment. Man, I got something in my throat. Okay, this comes from Chris. I should have practiced on how to pronounce these names. Chris Schobalak. Proof he doesn't need to be at OSU. I'm sorry. This was from the poll you ran. Ohio State running backs coach Tony Alford accepts the same job at Michigan. And Chris said, proof he doesn't need to be at OSU. LOL won't affect TCTUN wins or losses. LOL. This led to a few comments in a row about what TCUN, TCTUN, and TTUN means. So Token responded, is it TCUN or TTUN? Make up your mind, brother, unless you made up another acronym yourself, in which case I'd like to be enlightened on what it means. TCTUN seems to be a new one. Does it mean those champs that are up north? Because TCUN is the champions up north.
Yeah.
TTUN is the team up north. Makes sense to me. That's what it would be. It's pretty funny.
That is really funny. I like that. Buckeyes Battle Cry said 13 million is what Lane Kiffin said we spent. I think it was probably about half that. I thought it was even reported that they spent 13. Maybe might be wrong. I don't know.
It was at one point. Yeah.
Weird. But they would know, obviously. So who knows?
Connor Stallions lives in Ohio State's heads, said, Michigan beats Ohio State. They'll respond with, Mommy, they're cheating. You can use the name on this channel. It would be freaking funny just to make Satan down south mad. Okay.
Well, we don't like to invoke the name of Satan, but...
Yeah. Buckeyes Battle Cry has had some good videos coming out about Tony Alford and that. I appreciate those.
Yes.
Certainly no NCAA tourney celebrations tonight for either of our teams. That is true. I know Michigan was absolutely awful in the tourney. Oh, they didn't get to it. They didn't even make it to the tourney. I don't know. Ohio State made it into the tourney, but I think they got out in the first round or second round.
No, that was, you might be thinking of the Big Ten tournament, but I don't know. I didn't pay attention, but they're definitely not in the big dance, whatever that one's.
All right.
Yeah. But we're not a basketball channel, so I don't care.
Okay, wait a minute here. When was the last time Ohio State was average, though? 2011.
Yeah, that's about right.
When Luke Fickell had to step in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Ohio State's a fantastic team. Year after year, they're monsters out there.
They're so much fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially under Urban Meyer with that offense. I mean, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a jab by Lane.
The 13 million.
Oh, so yeah. So you think it was jab by Lane? So he really only spent. Oh, we only spent. What was it? 6 million.
6.5 million.
6.5 million. All right.
Huh.
Wait a minute. I got to back up here. So Connor Stallion said, Buckeyes have been dead inside about Michigan basketball since the Sweet 16 loss versus UCLA in the 21 tournament.
Okay, I stayed up late and watched that game. I was watching that game in bed, and yeah, I remember staying up late with my phone, and like Rochelle was asleep, obviously next to me because we're married and that's what you do, and so I was watching the game on my phone with my earphones in and everything, and the guy, I can't remember his name, but he was just an absolute revelation for UCLA that night. Like, he had a really good tournament, and he hits that one shot to basically put the game away. And I about died inside. And I don't know that I slept that night, actually. I was very upset about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, quick little aside.
I really just don't watch basketball very often, if at all, but maybe I'll start. Who knows? I don't know. I guess this year was a good year to miss.
Yep. Michigan basketball fell over dead so that Michigan football could run.
Yeah. Their color is red. Red equals Satan. Michigan made the Big Ten tourney, lost to Penn State 66-50. Oh, I did hear that. Yeah, they lost to Penn State in a who gives a rat game. Yeah. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Hey, we got 14 people watching.
Something jamming up my throat. Sorry about that. We should get into our first story.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about this. So Greg Scruggs, Michigan football coach Greg Scruggs, has been suspended infinitely after an OWI arrest. So Greg Scruggs, let me introduce the story here. Greg Scruggs was hired on March 6th to be the defensive line coach. That is accurate. At Michigan. On March 16th, he was arrested for an OWI and suspended indefinitely. He was the defensive line coach at Wisconsin last year, and in 22 was the defensive line coach for the New York Jets. All hail the New York
Jets. All hail. No, wait, that's the Giants.
I know. That's why I paused.
Oh, all right.
Jets.
Giants. Whatever.
So let's see. Here's what Sharon Moore said. That Greg made an unfortunate mistake and was arrested for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. That's what OWI stands for. He made no excuse and has taken accountability for his actions. The football program and athletic department have suspended Greg indefinitely while we review the details of the incident. According to James Yoder, this is his third offense. Now, I did look it up. I know for sure that he had an offense in 2011.
Yeah.
When he was a senior playing for Louisville, he was arrested for a DUI where he actually veered off the road and ran over a light pole, and he was dismissed from the team just before their bowl game against NC State. I didn't see this, but James Yoder says that he was also picked up in 2013 while playing for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And this was pled down from DUI to reckless driving. I don't know how they did that necessarily, unless maybe he just didn't hurt anybody or wreck the car or anything. But at any rate, that's what happened there. So one of the things I had to look up was what exactly an OWI is.
Yeah.
So before we get into the question, my question to you is who is replacing him? But while you're thinking about that, an OWI is actually an expansion of the DUI law. So a DUI, driving under the influence, to be arrested for a DUI, the vehicle you were arrested in, in order to be arrested for a DUI, the vehicle you were in had to be moving. So you were operating the vehicle, driving while under the influence.
Right.
Now under the OWI, which is operating while intoxicated, in Michigan, you can be arrested for sleeping in a car while drunk. So let's say you go to the bar, and I don't recommend this. I don't recommend getting drunk at all, and certainly not drinking and driving.
Yeah, just drinking and live streaming.
Just drinking. Well, yeah. But what this law is saying now, and this is going to get off topic here, but what this is saying is that let's say you come out of the bar and you realize you're not able to drive. You recognize your incapacity. So you go out to your car in the parking lot, climb in the back seat, and take a nap. You can now be arrested for that.
Well, is it the back seat or was he in the driver's seat? Because I know if you're
no matter what, let's say you get in the car, you don't put the keys in the ignition, you're just sitting there, you put the seat back and take a nap, you can still be arrested.
If you're in the front seat, though.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I already think that, well, okay, so I guess I understand if it's in the front seat, then like the officer might think that you were driving there. And especially if the keys are in the ignition or something like that, then the officer might think that you drove there. And so he'll hit you with something. If you're in the back seat,
okay,
though, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's like, the guy, the guy knew he was drunk. And so he got into the car in the back seat or something. And, but I mean, yeah, Connor Stallions lives in Ohio State's fans' head. You got a really long name. He's absolutely right. I mean, Greg Scruggs Greg Scruggs isn't hemorrhaging money. He could have called an Uber cab, a buddy to take him home. He was just not smart. Yeah. I mean, at this point, there's just no excuse. Although I do think it's kind of like one of those things like, oh man, maybe I feel a little crummy. I'll just hop in the back seat for a minute, just kind of sleep it off, whatever. And then you get hit with an OWI. That kind of sucks. But at the same time, how is the cop to know that you didn't drive there and then get into the back seat? So this might be something that is honestly moderately innocent, but also just kind of dumb. I mean, best case scenario is that it is kind of dumb.
Well, and I mean, in this particular case with Greg Scruggs, I guess I'm talking in general, but in this particular case with Greg Scruggs, he's definitely got a history.
Oh yeah.
So there's definitely a problem there. I mean, he's 33 years old. This is his third DUI, OWI.
Yeah.
There's a problem there. And I guess that's we don't really know exactly what happened. I mean, I'm looking in the even in the article on the Detroit Free Press, they don't really know exactly what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, actually, I take your point there, and I didn't really even think about that. That if the cops don't know if you maybe were drunk when you got there, and so you drove there drunk and that, so that makes sense. And certainly, to some extent, I would say that if you can stop more drunk driving incidents, that's a good thing, because it seems like whenever you're drinking and driving and you get into an accident, it's the other people that get hurt or killed.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to stopping that. I just, the law, the way it sounded, it was like, maybe you are being responsible at some point and saying, oh, I'm going to sleep this off, and you could still get arrested for that. But actually, it's a good example too, because it's just like refereeing. You can't ref intent.
Right.
You can only ref what happened and what you saw. So, all right, I stand corrected. But yeah,
and also, like, stop drinking an hour before the bar closes. Get yourself a water. You can still chill and watch sports or hang out with your buddies or something like that and dry out and then go home. It's pretty easy, guys. Like, I went to college for 8 years. I had plenty of beer. I never once drove drunk. So it's not that difficult.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of chats here. Wait a minute. All right. I'm not sure where this one's coming from.
Oh, that was the UCLA thing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Jason Bode says drinking and live streaming. Now he's laughing at us.
Hey.
Fair.
Jason Bode has already laughed at more jokes than my wife ever has.
Ooh.
I'm joking.
Greg Scruggs isn't hemorrhaging money. He could have called Uber cab, a buddy to take him home. He just was not smart. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Hey, and no matter what, this is his fault. This is on him.
Yeah.
And if he gets fired, he's only got himself to blame.
Yes. But also at the same time, hopefully on a human level, he wasn't ever driving the car, and he was just in the back seat thinking, I'll just sleep it off real quick.
Yeah.
It's
just funny that Ohio State fans trying to paint this situation like the Zach Smith DV situation. Do you know about that one?
Domestic violence. Yeah. Yeah. First off, it's not all Ohio State fans. It's just the loud ones on Twitter. And also there were, unfortunately, a lot of Michigan fans on Twitter saying the same kinds of things about Zach Smith. So it turns out there are really scummy people in every fan base, and that really sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that domestic violence or DUIs or pretty much anything outside of what happens in the locker room or the football field should be involved in rivalry fodder. Okay. I think the jokes about Michigan State being scared of Michigan's tunnel or any tunnel are really funny, but we don't have to bring up domestic violence or DUIs as rivalry fodder, but he's right. I mean, there were some fans of a lot of different teams on Twitter saying like, oh, this is just the culture problem at Michigan. No, this guy, I mean, Michigan wanted to give him a chance. He's been doing well or better anyway. And I think, everyone to a point deserves a second chance, or I guess in his case, a fourth chance. I don't know. Anyway. Right. And he just hopefully again made a dumb mistake and didn't actually do anything super immoral, like actually driving while intoxicated. But again, it was dumb,
Right.
and it should not be blown out of proportion.
Right. Okay, so Connor says 3 to 4 cups of coffees, 3 waters clears all that up.
Yeah.
So he's in agreement with you.
Yep.
Now, okay, did you happen to find out, because I could have sworn I saw this past week, of who was going to fill in for Greg Scruggs, but then I went back to try to find it and couldn't find it.
I haven't seen anything. I mean, my guess would be that they would just have Wink Martindale step in for the time being, or possibly who's taking over.
I thought I saw something about not a grad student, but an assistant coach picking it up.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure who.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. They've been super tight-lipped about this.
Yeah.
Aside from, suspending him immediately and indefinitely, which was a good move.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the WXYZ news out of Detroit filed a Freedom of Information Act request with Michigan to find out more information. And so far, nobody knows anything.
Yeah, well, that takes a while.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
It seems like that takes a couple of weeks to get through, because that has to go through legal channels.
I see. Okay.
I believe.
Yeah. But I mean, so far it hasn't hurt anything in terms of transfers, in terms of recruiting. I don't think that it's been long enough to actually have an effect on any of that just yet. But I haven't seen anything in terms of a replacement or an interim or anything like that. I don't think that spring ball has even actually started yet.
Oh, I think it has. I think it starts. If it didn't start mid last week, it starts Monday.
Oh, so tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was, or yeah. All right. Well, maybe they will need an interim for the first couple of days then, or something like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough time to have to pull in another coach.
Yeah.
Let me grab one last chat here before we move on to the next story. Connor Stallions. Oh yeah, for sure. There are rats in every fan base. There's decent people in every situation. Got few friends that cheer for them. Ohio fans. I still talk to them a lot as well. I still talk to them. They're all right.
They're fine. Whatever. Yeah. Got some family members that are MSU fans. You try and avoid those topics at the holidays. Those are just really divisive. But other than that, they're humans, just like the rest of us.
Just like the rest of us. Yeah.
They might be flawed, but that's okay.
All right, let's switch over. We're going to look at Nick Saban. So we talked about Nick Saban last week, and we talked about this NIL thing, but there was a new development during the week. We talked about Nick Saban's retirement. He said that the players' reaction to the Rose Bowl loss was part of the reason for his retirement. He also said the players were more worried about NIL money and playing time instead of coming together as a team, building each other up. I thought this was a little hypocritical because he's made millions off of the game. If I remember correctly, you had a different view of it. You thought it made sense to you.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of the crappy thing is, on the one hand, you've got, he's right. Like, football is supposed to be about building young men for life. I mean, it's the ultimate team sport, right? Like, there are a lot of lessons to be learned about life in general, working with people, loving your brothers, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, they're kind of putting their bodies on the line for a decently violent sport that generates billions of dollars for a lot of people every year, and several millions of dollars for the head coach and a couple of assistants and stuff like that every year. So, I mean, I always thought that the players should get paid somehow, but obviously, if you just tell the players like, oh, you're going to come in and there are absolutely no restrictions on the amount of money that you can make, then the players are obviously going to start. There's going to be an attitude shift towards, oh, I can make a whole bunch of money. So I need to know from which school I can make the most amount of money. So I have no loyalty to the actual school. I just want the money. Now, I can't blame them for that. Okay. It would personally take a lot for me to just leave a job that I really liked. But if I got an offer for a significant amount of money somewhere, or if somebody else got an offer for a significant amount of money at another place, you got to at least look at it, right? Now, so I mean, so they're just kind of weighing their options, I guess. So I understand the players wanting to make sure that they get paid. But I did see something, like there have been rumors for a solid decade that Alabama was doing some shady stuff to get some players, some recruits. And people are saying the only reason Nick Saban's complaining about it now is because it's happening out in the open, not under the table where he's got the advantage. I mean, he's not coaching anymore, so what does he care? Like, he doesn't need to comment on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So the new development this past week, Nick went to Capitol Hill to talk about NIL and revenue sharing. He even said this is an existential crisis for college football, as in the very existence of college football hangs in the balance of this decision. And here's what he said. I should have advanced that. If we had some sort of revenue sharing proposition that did not make student athletes employees, I think that may be the long-term solution, Saban said. You could create a better quality of life for student athletes. You could still emphasize development. You can still create brand and athletic development with a system like that, and it would be equal in all institutions. You couldn't raise more money at one school to create a competitive advantage at another. So I think what he's getting at here, this could be a small boon for every team in the league. The issue is what he's talking about is basically taking, well, the revenue sharing is each team gets X percent or X amount of the revenue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's revenue
sharing. Yeah.
So what happens then is by the time you spread that out across all the teams in the contract, it's much less money, which is going to bring those numbers down. So when we talk about, a player getting $1 million, well, now you're going to bring it down to players getting less than that because you've got a finite amount of money and that has to be spread across several teams and several players. So it's a smaller share, but it is a share for everybody. You're disagreeing with what I'm saying there?
I mean, yeah, I get it. Well, just from the nature of numbers, like, yeah, it would technically be a smaller share, but the numbers are in the tens of millions. So you're at this point, you're talking about numbers that I don't think it matters how much less it is, because it's still tens of millions.
Yeah. And it would be difficult to guess at how much that would be. But if I think they were talking about in one of the stories for the playoffs, they were talking about $10-12 million a team, maybe even $20 million a team.
For the new playoffs?
Yeah. But that's for the teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
The teams in the playoff. So if we're talking about a couple of $1 million per team, first it's going to go to, I guess, who's involved in the revenue sharing. If that goes across all athletics, because or just the ones that have the TV contract.
Well, it would just go to the school. So the school disperses the money as necessary.
Okay, well then now you're into hundreds of athletes.
Yeah. That's
you could essentially, this could drop down to, I mean, not that any amount is not enough, but I mean, you might be dropping this down to, I don't know, $1,000 a month, which would be nice, for sure, but it's not like life-changing money.
But okay, so I guess we should have what? Sorry.
But what I mean by that though is not that I'm opposed to that or that I think it shouldn't happen. What I'm thinking is that it levels everything out so that you don't have one player getting $1 million and most of the other players getting nothing. So now you kind of even that out. So and maybe some of that revenue sharing, I think that's what Harbaugh talked about is that revenue could go, if you're a starter, maybe you get a little bit more. The more games you play, you might get a little bit more because you're more at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of evens everything out. But let me go to the next slide, because the alternative, according to Saban, is we have collectives that in some places are raising huge amounts of money and going to compete against places that do not have the same resources to raise those kinds of funds to pay players, which going back is what PJ Fleck talked about in the middle of last season. You have a pay-for-play system and a free agency system that has no guidelines, so there's no competitive balance. I think there's going to be a lot of places that will say that and will create a caste system where the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, and eventually fans will look at it and say, I don't really want to watch this game. Which brings us back to our poll. Is it worth watching anymore?
Yeah.
And Nick Saban is saying we could get to that point. But now it's... I think this is where and I hate to say, it's like too little too late, but maybe Nick Saban has finally seen the light regarding this, because that's been the case. This caste system has been the case. Just the simple fact that we have the Power Five and the Group of Five, that right there is the caste system.
Yeah, but that was because of school size. Well, no, it wasn't. That's FBS, FCS. The Group of Five versus the Power Five. Yeah, that was because of resources, for sure. Western Michigan donors are never going to give Western Michigan University, their football program, the type of money that Michigan boosters will, for sure.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely an issue. So yeah, I have no disagreements with this. The rich will get richer in this system, but this is the exact reason why the NFL is set up like a cartel. Literally, the economic model that the NFL uses is literally called cartel. It's a cartel. It operates as a cartel. Take a drink every time I say cartel. It's literally all of the TV money comes into the NFL, and then the NFL disperses it evenly among the teams. And then the teams, I believe they all get their own like percentages and shares of merch or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but in any case, that's eventually what the NCAA is going to need to come to. And that's honestly what they should have done when they first allowed NIL to even happen. I mean, the fact that they said, okay, fine, you can profit off your name, image, and likeness, but the school can't offer or can't directly pay you. There was always going to be the roundabouts. I mean, that's what that's what these people do best, or they find roundabout ways to skirt the rules, but technically stay in compliance. So yeah, I mean, they were going to have the caste system like Nick Saban's talking about here. What was I just going to say? I got distracted by Connor Stallion's text here. Take a drink every time I say cartel equals liver poisoning. Yeah, probably. Cartel.
Well, here.
Yeah.
So can I go on this one? You want to?
Yeah.
Did you remember what you're going to say? All right. Well, my other note was that, and I think you already said this earlier, is that Nick Saban is upset because Alabama and other SEC teams have already been paying players. And there's some sketchy stuff going on there. We don't know.
Yeah.
So now Saban also said that that's the reason why I always liked college athletics more than the NFL, because you have the opportunity to develop young people. I want their quality of life to be good. I think NIL is a great opportunity for them to create a brand for themselves. I'm not against that at all, but I think creating something that helps the development of young people is paramount to the future of college athletics.
Yeah, so you can have NIL, but put guardrails on it.
Right, and that's probably where revenue sharing would come in.
So the revenue sharing thing, I think, would have been great, but I don't think that you can have revenue sharing and NIL, because if NIL still exists, then we're right back. The problem isn't that the players are making more than other players. The problem is that you've got collectives that are basically doing pay for play, and that's affecting the quality of the game. At least it might be eventually. Right now, I think it's still a pretty good game, and I might only be saying that because this hat exists. But but either way, I mean, but the problem of the collective still exists. So the collective is still going to be telling the recruits, like, we will pay you this amount of money if you come and play here. And then the recruit's just going to go shop himself around and see how much he can get everywhere else. And yeah, Buckeye battle cry here. If you want to put that text up, he's absolutely right. U of M's approach is to pay the players once they've earned it. And I've said this on past live streams, like, yeah, you tell the players, come here, we're going to develop you. And if you earn it, we'll give it to you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of players aren't going to like that. But guess what? Michigan just won the national championship. So it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Build the culture and develop the players, and the championships will come. In the meantime, though, you're still going to have a lot of programs trying to do the all-star route where they're buying recruits from other schools, basically. And yeah, I mean, at some point you're going to have teams like Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, really, the group of 5 teams that are they're not going to have a roster left because everyone's pillaging them. Oh, yeah. And Power 5 schools will end up needing to recruit their players over and over again every single year. And so you'll have roster instability. So there's no building anything. There's no developing anything. You're just hoping that you can have enough money to keep your roster intact another year.
Right.
Which is crappy.
So Connor Stallions lives in Ohio State fans' heads. Nick Saban is such a whiny baby. Dude is just mad he couldn't load his team with 4- and 5-star dudes, and he can't control them and instill fear in them. Hypocrisy is just funny as hell. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard not to see hypocrisy in this, but who knows? I mean, not that what he's saying now isn't good, because I think what we're in agreement that there's got to be a better way than NIL, but it's just like there's got to be some self-awareness too. And I love Nick Saban. I love Nick Saban, but there's got to be some self-awareness here.
But I don't think that the right approach is revenue sharing exclusively. I think that you can't have revenue sharing and NIL and expect anything to be different. NIL is the very nature of NIL right now is the problem. So honestly, I don't know what would fix this other than getting rid of NIL and just replacing it with revenue sharing. I mean, the kids would still make a lot. The Big Ten paid out $58.8 million a team for revenue from the 2022 fiscal year.
Wow.
I mean, you don't think that they can give the players something like a solid paycheck from that?
They could give them a significant amount of money at that point.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there was a point in time where I think if you had told these players, like, dude, we will give you $50,000 a year and a scholarship and healthcare.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yeah, okay.
I think what we're going to run into, though, and I get it, that the gymnastics team, as good and as talented as they are and as hard as they work, they don't get the audience that the football team gets. So there's still going to be, so what I'm worried about, well, what you can see happening is that the gymnastics team is going to say, hey, how come we don't get any money and the football team gets all the money, or the basketball team gets the money, because football and basketball are the big ones, followed up by hockey, and then maybe a Michigan softball. But I mean, that's the other approach. How do you manage that? Because even though you can say, just like the debate between men's soccer and women's soccer, why is it men's soccer gets all the money and women's soccer doesn't? Well, it's because men's soccer sells more tickets than women's soccer. Mm-hmm. And that's fine for professional sports. But when we're talking about athletes at the college level, at what point are the gymnasts going to say, why should I try so hard when we're not recognized the way the football team is?
Well, that should have been the case already, though. I mean,
well, in what way?
Well, the football team's been getting all of the money and all of the recognition for 100 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, these non-revenue driving sports were always going to get shafted in that. But at the same time, their sport doesn't exist at a collegiate level without the football program. So I'm sorry, if you've got to make some sacrifices for the football program to continue paying for your ability to play the sport, you're going to need to do that.
It'll be interesting. It's going to require the coaches actually to step up their game and to encourage these players and build these players so that they know that if they're getting paid or not getting paid, what their value is to the team. What they're actually though, and we don't have to talk about this for too long. There's a couple of gymnasts that are actually getting pretty significant NIL, but I forgot what school they're at. But anyway, so I mean, the possibility is there. They're out there.
Yeah.
I want to bring up this chat though, and I'm hoping Connor Stallions lives in Ohio State's Fansheads can explain it. The Michigan approach is greater than the Texas A&M approach. Do you know what the Texas A&M approach is?
I believe they were just. I think they were kind of taking a far more extreme approach to the Ohio State method. Where and Buckeyes Battle Cry, don't get mad at me. Again, I am a Michigan fan, so understand what you're about to hear. But, but like where Ohio State is kind of trying a semi, we'll buy some all-stars and see what happens kind of approach. Texas A&M was like, we're going to try buying all of the all-stars and see what happens kind of approach. And it failed miserably, and Jimbo Fisher lost his job as well. He should have.
Speaking of Buckeyes Battle Cry, he says, I also think that a blend of the two is perhaps the true best approach.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I think you have to do one or the other, I think. I mean, maybe you can do a blend of the two, but you have to put guardrails on NIL. You have to put rules on the collectives. You have to say, what if they just did a rule where they said, like, you cannot collect NIL money until your junior year?
Yeah.
Why not? To me, that actually, now that I think about it, maybe I'd have to do some research, or I'm talking out my butt right now, but like, why not just say, like, yeah, that way, think about it. Like, that way it's taken out of at least the high school recruiting process altogether.
Yeah.
So a high school recruit comes on campus, he can no longer ask how much money he can make in NIL because it doesn't matter. He's not making diddly squat until his junior year. So then maybe his junior year, he starts asking about NIL. And then maybe at that point, you kind of got to start worrying about some roster turnover. But at the same time, you've had 2 years to develop a culture and develop the player. So what if? What if they just did that? What if they said, your junior year, you can start collecting NIL. In the meantime, with freshmen and sophomores, you can still, maybe do some revenue sharing or something like that so they can pay for healthcare or you can provide better healthcare because that would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Jason Bode says Nick Saban is a great coach, but come on, he tested the waters in the NFL. He was in the NFL. He found out that the NFL was a level playing field. He jumped back in college ball because of that. Did he?
I don't know.
He didn't do very well in the NFL, if I remember correctly.
No, didn't he have like 1 or 2 seasons with the Dolphins? And
I was going to say, I think it was the Dolphins right after Michigan State. Or was that before Michigan State?
I think it was after LSU.
After LSU? Okay.
Yeah, because I think he went from Michigan State to LSU and then to the Dolphins and then to the Tide.
Then to the Tide. Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony Mezzio is talking about the running backs coach. We'll get to that. JSE says OSU was the first Big Ten team to pay players before NIL. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if they're paying them under the table or what have you, but
I don't know if there's like a way to tell who was the first. I can say this, and I'm not saying it from a position of moral superiority. Michigan definitely wasn't the first because Michigan still doesn't really want to pay their players. And it's legal now. So
Connor says Nick Saban was 15-17 in the NFL. That sounds about right.
That's better than Urban Meyer.
You probably looked it up, so it's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than Urban Meyer?
Yeah. Urban Meyer didn't finish the first season, did he?
I don't know.
With the Jags?
Oh, could have been.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
All right. Here we go. Story number 3. Sources and CFP nears finish line for changes starting in 26. So believe it or not, we're kind of switching gears here. Believe it or not, the 12-team playoff now has an end date, which is 2026. And this year is the inaugural season of the 12-team playoff. So we're going to get 2 iterations of it before they're actually going to change it up. The top 5 teams are the highest ranked conference champions, and the next 7 teams are the next highest ranked teams in the 12-team playoff. So conceivably, and this was the issue with the 12-team playoff, or could be the issue with the 12-team playoff, because again, we haven't actually played a 12-team playoff yet, and they're already changing it. But conceivably, in a 12-team playoff, you could lose your conference championship, but still be ranked in the top 12 and make it to the playoffs. This would have happened just this last season and made Georgia very happy after losing to Alabama, because they did not go out of the top 12. What did they drop to? 8? I think Georgia dropped to 8.
Didn't Georgia drop to 6?
Was it 6?
This last year?
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, because FSU
was
was
6 because Florida State was 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, don't get used to the don't get used to the 12-team playoff, because it does have an end date. In 2026, they're talking about 12 plus teams. So here's the deal. Oh, that's not the deal. That's my next slide. Sorry, I apparently didn't put a slide up for this. What they're saying is, after another set of calls and meetings Thursday, sources told ESPN that both the internal memorandum of understanding between the leagues and Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's independent, they got to throw them in there somewhere, and the television agreement with ESPN are now in the final stages, with signatures expected on the deal in the next 24 hours. And this was today.
That was Friday.
Oh, really? I have the date on this report is from today. Anyway,
CFP nears finish line for changes starting in 26.
I'm sorry.
14th.
Nope. Yeah, that's right. That's when I printed it out. Why is that there? Okay. So they're going to switch to, they're talking about switching to, it's not necessarily a 14-team, that's hard to say, 14-team playoff. It's a 12-plus playoff. So it could change from year to year how many teams are actually in the playoffs.
It's not even a playoff. It's a Big Ten SEC invitational. This is the dumbest format ever.
So my chart there on the next slide is, this is what it would have looked like last season. So you've got Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State in the top 5. So immediately Florida State's argument from this past year goes away. But now we're going to add LSU and Arizona at 13 and 14. I didn't work out like how that might go through the playoffs, but that's what we'd be looking at. That would have been your 14 teams from last season.
So it's okay. I got to remember, it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, right?
Yeah, it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then the next, well, in this case, it'd be the next 9 highest ranked teams.
Okay. But they're nothing to do with the next 5 or the next 9 teams. Like it's whoever the next 9 highest ranked teams are,
right?
Get the at-large bids,
right? According to the CFP, yeah.
Okay, so would this is this the lineup then? Like, would it have been number 1 Michigan, number 2 Washington? Well, that probably would have been the case. But
yeah,
like,
this was 23.
Yeah,
2023.
okay.
This was the 2023 record or
rankings. Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Cause I'm thinking like, what if Alabama goes, I don't know, 10-2, 11-2 with the conference championship this season. And so then Penn State didn't win the Big Ten, but they should be ranked higher because they went 11-1. You know?
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
But okay, this is the fun part. Okay, so the financial distribution for the expected 14-team playoff. Say that 14. You say it.
14-team playoff.
14-team playoff.
14-team playoff, and I'm saying that as a lightweight with a 6% beer.
Oh, so is this.
Is
I
it?
don't think that's the issue, though. I think saying 14-team playoff is just, it's too many team.
5%. Oh, I'm a wuss.
Team. Okay, the financial distribution for the expected 14-team playoff will look radically different from that of its playoff predecessor. On an annual basis, for example, Big Ten and SEC will be making more than $21 million per school, a number that's up from nearly $5.5 million the Power 5 leagues are currently being paid. Now it's on an annual basis. Okay, so every year they get $21 million. Okay.
Yeah.
In the ACC, the schools will get more than $13 million annually, and the Big 12 will get more than $12 million per school. Notre Dame is expected to get more than $12 million as well, and sources tell ESPN there will be a financial incentive for any independent team that reaches the CFP. There will no longer be a participation bonus for any of the other leagues, a detail that was frustrating to some leaders in the Group of Five.
Yeah.
So you've already got your caste system. The Group of Five schools revenue will increase to just under 1.8 million from the current 1.5 million, according to multiple sources.
So, okay, is this okay? So this means on an annual basis, the Big Ten and SEC will be making more than $21 million per school. Is that $21 million per school that makes it into the playoffs or the invitational? That's what I would think.
I don't know. I mean, it would have to be.
But I thought I saw that there was also like 5 spots that were reserved for Big Ten teams.
I did not see that in here.
Okay, that might be bunk or something. But I
think at one point there was the suggestion that the Big Ten and the SEC will basically run the playoffs. So you've got you've got 5 Big Ten team spots and 5 SEC spots, and then the rest of them go to whoever.
What you're looking at right now is literally a Big Ten SEC. So let's see. Florida State for now is in the ACC, but they're talking about moving to the SEC or the Big Ten, actually.
Yeah.
Then you got Georgia. Oregon is now in the Big Ten. Oklahoma is moving to the SEC. LSU is in the SEC, and then Arizona is actually in the Big 12. So as of right now, you've got one Big 12 team, one ACC team, and everybody else is SEC and Big 10. What?
Yeah. The disparity is already there. The caste system is already there. The Big Ten and the SEC run the league.
Okay, here it is.
And the Big Ten is fairly weak. It's weak compared to the SEC, except that now we have not Texas, Oregon and USC.
Yeah.
And Washington.
Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington. Yeah.
But UCLA hasn't been doing that well. USC, Washington, and Oregon have been.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so this says that so it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions and then 7 at large bids. So it's not that there's 5 spots reserved for the Big Ten and the SEC.
Right.
So that makes sense. But holy crap. Okay, so you're going to get to this. Sorry. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
I mean, yeah. So that's the discussion. But now, okay, so in the champs, I'm going to say in the champs, you guys are the champs in the chats.
Yeah.
Cover my own mistake there. Urban, hold up. Oh, okay. So Buckeyes battle cry. Really not a fan of the 14-team playoff as greed continues to run the sport. Yes, this keeps coming up. This is the issue that we have to deal with over and over again, from NIL to the revenue sharing to the conference expansion to now the playoff expansion. It's all about money now. And unfortunately, I think, well, that's the progression, right? So something starts out, and football, I think you got to go back a long way to get to football being a what do you call it? When only a few people like it, sort of a cult sport.
Yeah.
You've got to go back to the late 1800s, because by 1900, I mean, that's when that was Yost's team, wasn't it? Like 19
Yeah.
to 1905.
Mhm.
And those were the teams that were marking out championships and were getting the national recognition. So football has been about money for quite a while now. But that's the progression. You start out where a few people like it, and if it catches on, the more people that like it, the more money that it makes, the more mainstream it gets, which is kind of what you want to an extent, because if you don't get a big fan base, then you're not going to continue.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
yeah.
now we've reached that next tipping point where now it's we've got the fan base, we've got the revenue. Now it's become a matter of, well, that revenue has exploded to just incredible amounts of money because of the TV contracts and the cable contracts and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. And advertising costs are going up every single year too.
And now we have those questions like last year, was Florida State kept out of the top 4 because they didn't think that they would draw a crowd? Or was it because they didn't deserve to be there?
Or was it because ESPN knew Nick Saban was retiring and wanted to give him his swan song?
Right.
Which
isn't fair either.
Which isn't right. Who knows if that's actually what happened. But yeah, I guess I don't understand why they're doing this, I guess. Because at some point you're going to add so many games that each game isn't or becomes less valuable. So already at this point, the regular season is already not as valuable because all you have to do is be a top 12 team. Right. And so that means that you could have 2 losses and still make the playoffs. Well, so how many people are going to tune in for the Michigan-Ohio State game now, knowing that the loser of this game can still make the playoffs? I mean, the loser of that game can still make the Big Ten championship. And then the loser of that game can still make the playoffs. Yeah. So conference championships now don't mean as much. Now, if you're taking away the stakes of these games, then ad revenue goes down because not as many people are watching. So you got to keep adding games. So eventually, we're going to get to like a 28, 32, 64 team playoff because they have to keep adding games to make up for the lost revenue of the games that they stole viewership from before with the prior playoff.
Yeah. Is this the one you were chuckling about before? What's next? 100 team playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's almost like you have to get there. I mean, I guess that's what works for basketball. I've never heard, and maybe it's because I haven't paid enough attention, but I haven't heard anybody complaining about a team not making March Madness other than, the fans complaining about their team not making it, but not because they've been, slighted in some way. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, no, that happens.
Does
for
it?
Sure,
Even with 64 teams, I mean, that's half the league.
No, it's not. That's like a quarter, because there are something like 300 basketball schools.
Oh, really?
There are over. I want to say it's over like 300 college basketball schools that play in Division I.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because like because you can have like Elon University, which I believe is in South Carolina. You can have them make the 64 team playoff. They
Rhode
just don't
Island
have a
football team, I take it.
Yeah. Well, I think they have a football team, but I think they're like D3.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, and I think the difference is because basketball, I've heard basketball is like the most or the least predictable sport. So anybody really can beat anybody.
Yep.
So there's not, I think from week to week or game to game, there's not really as much a disparity between the teams. Now that doesn't always happen to be the case. I mean, Michigan got blown out plenty of times this year.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think it's because basketball tends to be a cheaper sport, I think, but certainly it's one of those things where any team, as long as they're shooting, really well, they can beat anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basketball is definitely a lower cost of entry. I mean, all you got to do is buy shoes and go down to the court and play.
Right.
I think that would make you good. I'm just saying it is a low cost of entry.
It is.
Yeah. Jason Bode says it has always been about the money for the past 2 decades. Yep, agree. It's unfortunate, but true. Buckeyes battle cry. It has been, but now it's actually negatively affecting the sport. Yeah, that's what we've tipped into. He also says if you don't get a bye, it'll take 17 games to reach the Natty. The best teams won't always win the title now because of injuries and luck of playoffs. Yes. No? You disagree?
Rough.
Oh.
No. I'm just saying, yeah, that's difficult. I mean,
right.
That's a lot of games for a college student.
Yeah, well, and there's that. Well, no, I guess it's always been sudden death. What am I thinking of? Yeah, because of injuries and the luck of the playoffs. I'm just thinking that, like, if you're the number 1 team and you lose in the first round, you're out. But that's always the case. I guess it's if you're the number 14 team, you could actually run the table and win the championship.
Which, that's stupid. Because again, it's not supposed to be the best team. It's supposed to be the most deserving, right?
Right.
I think if you
so
look
what would it
at,
take? What kind of record would you have to be the number 14 team?
Well, I
guess I should have looked up.
Would be depending.
Okay.
Yeah, couldn't 10-2. I think there's all of a sudden a little bit of a delay. I'm not sure what just happened, but I think we were hearing a delay for some reason.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but yeah, 10-2 could be a 14 or a 14-13. I mean, Michigan. How many times did Michigan go 9-3 and still make it in like the top 15? Because they lost to, well, they would lose to Ohio State. They would generally they lost a couple of times to Penn State. Notre Dame in 2018, and they would still end the season in the top 15. So now you've got you do have a situation where theoretically a 10-2, 9-3 team could participate for the national championship, and I think that's really crappy. There is no so now you've got a situation where in the regular season teams could be resting starters for the last couple of weeks because they're already a lock for the playoffs. Man, that's bad for the game. That's bad for the game.
Hold on, I'm looking up real quick what Arizona's record was. Yeah, Arizona's record was 10-3. 7-2 in the Pac-12, 10-3 overall, but that's 13 games. So they would actually they won their bowl game.
Arizona did?
Yeah, so then that means they were 9-3 in the regular season. So there you go. They were 9-3 in the regular season.
Yep. They would end up participating.
Yep. So you'd be a 9-3 team going up against a 12-0 team. And yeah.
And that shouldn't happen. Like that game, and who knows if that game would actually be a blowout. Maybe the 9-3 team actually wins. But the problem is that they don't deserve to be there. They lost 3 games. But the other problem is that you could have a team going into the final game of the season 11-0 and say, well, we don't actually need this game to make it to the playoffs. So we can rest our starters. We can take the loss. We'll still go to the conference championship game. Now that last game of the season doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So at that point, then schools might start scheduling FCS teams for the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season because they can beat them with their 4-stringers.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of the game just goes down any different way you slice it with this 14-team playoff.
Right. So Connor Stallion there says the same thing. For me, it's 9-3. 3 losses can't be like 30+ point beatdowns.
Right.
But
yeah.
sometimes they are. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to give an update on our poll.
Okay.
About whether or not if we offered a shirt that said Connor Stallions is an American hero, would you buy it?
Yeah.
12% said yes. 18% said duh. 71% said no.
Uh-oh.
So we clearly have a bunch of Ohio State fans in the chat right now.
So Jason Bode says it has already happened in the CFP. Ohio State lost to Michigan 2 years ago, and Ohio State still made it to the CFP. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go to our top story, the big story, the one that's driving everybody crazy. Tony Alford leaves Ohio State for Michigan. This is going to be a fun one. So Tony Alford left Ohio State. It's a done deal, and the Buckeye Nation is not happy about it. Here's a few headlines that I found. Tony Judas Alford quits Ohio State to join the dark side, stealing spring practice plans and more. That's from Land Grant Holy Land. And they said goodbye and good riddance. Ohio State football. Tony Alford's move to Michigan is hard to understand. And I love the subtitle. The former Ohio State football coach decided to make a move to Michigan. It's a move that is hard to understand.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
I think they need an editor over there at Scarlet and Game.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Then at Cleveland.com, they said Tony Alford's Michigan exit hurts because he was the last coach fans expected to betray the Buckeyes. And so this is the one that you had pointed out. Would pull a couple of quotes from this story. Former Ohio State running back coach Tony Alford crossed the battlegrounds, and he will not be welcomed back. This is a tough one. They're really upset about this.
Yeah.
Perhaps you've forgotten that Michigan is still under NCAA investigation for stealing signs during their recent rise to Big Ten power. Perhaps Alford has lost touch with the intense emotions his Buckeyes felt after learning their losses to UM were allegedly tainted. Or perhaps the former OSU assistant has signed a big enough contract to ignore his old allegiances. Though it should be noted, no running backs coach earned a higher 2023 salary than Alford. Which I think brings up a very good question, which you're probably about to talk about. Go ahead.
No, go ask it.
Well, okay. So if it's not about the sanctions, potential sanctions, and if it's not about the money, why did he leave Ohio State for Michigan?
I'm going to upset Buckeyes battle cry. And I like the dude. Culture.
And we can't do anything but speculate. As we say every week, we are not professionals. We are not insiders. We are just fans. We can only go off of what we've heard. Something is up. Something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
And so, and what I find interesting is, never underestimate fans' abilities to turn on a coach that they once loved because they're saying some bad things about him. But now, here's some stats on Tony Alford. He's got 29 years of experience as a running backs coach. He's coached and developed six, and this is okay. So coached and developed 6 1,000-yard backs in his 9 seasons at Ohio State. These are the running backs that gave Michigan so much trouble. His running backs have earned major national awards. He was a 2015 Rivals.com top 25 recruiter. All of his starting running backs went on to be drafted in the NFL.
He's still a really good recruiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
I got to remember exactly. I can pull up his 247 composite and see exactly what he's been able to do, but I'm pretty sure he's still a really good recruiter. And in fact, I shouldn't say a bunch, but I think a couple of 5-star running backs actually said that they're looking at Michigan now because he's there.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
So some of the things, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, but in terms of so Connor Stallion said Michigan runs the ball. Dude, Satan down south, all right, does not run the ball. It's that simple. That's okay. So that's kind of what I was going to say is that for whatever reason, it looked like this last season that Ohio State was kind of doing like a pocket passer sort of situation. The thing is, though, I thought they ran the ball this last season more than they normally do, because normally they're putting up 400 or 500 yards of offense through the air. And this season, I felt like I don't think that they put up that much that often, but like, oh my gosh, I've already forgotten his name. The quarterback, Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord, yeah.
I thought Kyle McCord was still, he was dropping back to pass quite a bit, but then also they were handing the ball off a lot more. He wasn't like running out. They didn't do like the quarterback design runs that they used to do. They didn't have him like roll out and do the play action pass kind of stuff a lot. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I don't know. They felt like a really vanilla offense to me. But actually, because they were running the ball, I thought that they were actually running the ball a lot more than they usually do, as I've said a million times at this point. The reason that it didn't go anywhere, though, was because Ohio State's offensive line was having some issues this season. And then at some point, Ryan Day took over play calling duties, and he started trying to throw the ball more, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. But I guess the reason I'm saying that, though, is because I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter of people saying, oh, you just hired the running backs coach from the running game that you've been clowning for the last 3 years. And as I said in my short, no Michigan fan was laughing at Ohio State's running game. Ohio State has had a ton of really good running backs. They still have really good running backs. The fact that they got Quinshon Judkins to transfer there is huge. He's amazing. Travion Henderson is amazing. All of those running backs were amazing. Their offensive line has noticeably gone down in quality as the Ryan Day era progresses.
Well, and to some extent, the comment doesn't make sense, doesn't necessarily apply, because you can take somebody who is performing average at one spot, move them to another spot, and they'll perform much better.
Mike Sanders.
Again, that comes back to culture.
Yeah.
We've seen coaches who, Rich Rod is probably a good one. He was doing great at West Virginia, comes to Michigan and doesn't do as well.
Yeah.
There was a culture issue at Michigan that prevented him from doing well. So it doesn't necessarily matter that Michigan fans may have been, mocking Michigan's running game. You take that same coach and put him in a good environment, and he could be a lot better. It remains to be seen. I watched a few videos of people talking about this, and these were the points that were coming up as to what they're saying as to why he may have left. One of them was that he didn't receive a contract extension when other coaches did.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
Well, I don't understand it either, because if he's been at Ohio State for 9 years and he was the guy, and what I've heard is that he and Ryan Day were pretty tight. And so for him not to get a contract extension is a bit of a slap in the face, stab in the back kind of thing.
I guess, unless there's actually something to this whole, because he was also the run game coordinator. And the run game coordinator, obviously you need an offensive line to run the ball. So maybe there was some disconnect between him being able to recruit offensive line players if he was supposed to do that. There is an O-line coach that's supposed to be doing something, you would think. Yeah. So I'm really not sure. I mean, it would make sense to me that if he's the run game coordinator, maybe Ryan Day was having issues with how the run game was being played anyway, and that makes sense. They were trying to run the ball a lot, and I don't think did it very well, especially against Michigan. So maybe that has something to do with it, but I don't know. To me, I would look at the offensive line before I looked at the running backs coach.
Right. Number 2 is the possibility of him leaving was brought up in January, and who is Jim Broom? Jay Broom?
Jay Broom. Who?
On was that his name? Anyway, on Twitter they were saying that they were upset because it sounds like he found out in January that he was already talking to Michigan, and so but he stuck around. I think it's Jay Broom. think is his name on Twitter. And Alford himself replied on the thread saying this is not true.
Yeah.
That he had only talked to Michigan. He'd only talked to Sharon Moore in the past week, not 2 months ago, just a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is interesting timing because coaches don't normally leave the week before spring practice. So spring practice starts Monday. He left OSU last week. There's two things there. One, that Sharon Moore was coming dangerously close to not having a running backs coach for spring practice.
Yep.
Yep.
But also, like, okay, yeah, a coach generally doesn't leave the week before spring practice. Mark D'Antonio was the head coach at Michigan State and left, in the middle of February?
Yeah, he waited long enough to get his bonus and then left.
So
that was a pretty raw deal, yeah.
Obviously, two very different circumstances, but I don't really think that the timing matters. I think that it was. I mean, if Sharon Moore didn't, they didn't know whether or not Mike Hart was coming back until this last week, and then they found out he's not. Hope he's doing okay, but
yeah,
that's the reason. There's no reason to be like, oh, he was obviously going to be shafted at Ohio State. They were pushing him out or something, and that the timing explains that. That's not true. The timing is because it sounds like Mike Hart didn't know what he was doing until the last minute.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one too. I don't know that we'll ever find out what actually happened, but it seems like Mike Hart could have said something earlier, but I guess I really don't know.
Yeah.
The fourth thing there is coaches don't usually make lateral moves unless they have to. That one's iffy. I don't know that means anything other than he just made a lateral move. I don't know that I would read anything into that.
There was a coach, I can't remember who it was, the head coach of somewhere, Boston College, I think.
Yeah.
Left from being the head coach at Boston College to being an assistant with like the Bears or some NFL team. Now I get it. It's from Boston College to the NFL, but he's an assistant. So I don't know. I mean, I think coaches are human beings who leave for any number of reasons. It happens. I don't know.
I mean, it ties into the next one there. I mean, Chip Kelly was the head coach at UCLA, right?
Yeah.
So he left UCLA to be the OC at OSU.
But that one I kind of understand because Chip Kelly was going to be on the chopping block here soon because UCLA wasn't doing very well.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't yet though. I mean, if he had turned around,
this would have been it.
You think so? You think they would have fired him anyway?
Well, this season, unless he did something spectacular this season at UCLA, then yeah, he would have gotten fired.
All right.
But clearly he didn't think he was going to be able to. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one though, that it's possible Chip Kelly drove him out. I think I heard this on Lockdown Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't claiming to know that this was the case. He was suggesting that maybe this was a possibility, that Chip Kelly comes in and he has a specific plan for the offense, and Tony Alford wasn't getting with the program, and so it was kind of like trying to find a way to push him out.
Okay.
Yeah, none of these things, we don't know. These are all the suggestions that have been made. These are the rumors that are out there. The idea that he was talking to Michigan in January is not true. Tony Alford himself said that that's not true.
Yeah.
But these are the rumors. So all of this leads to the question, and I'm going to drop the screen back to the two of us there. But now we've got questions of what does this say about the impending NCAA hammer coming down? And what does this say about the possibility of Michigan getting sanctioned and Tony Alford maybe knowing how? Okay, so the rumor that OSU that Ryan Day was the one who called out Michigan and reported Michigan. What does Tony Alford know about that? For my money, I don't know why you would leave a team like Ohio State to go to a team that's about to get the hammer from the NCAA. That seems like a bad move, unless you know it's not going to happen.
Unless you think it's going to be worse at Ohio State. Okay, so let's play with this a second. There's a lot going on here. He could think that Michigan's not actually going to get the hammer. He might even still not know. None of us really know what the NCAA is going to do until the NCAA does something. And the NCAA, I feel like, doesn't even really know what they're going to do until they do something. So who knows what's going to come of that? At this point, no evidence has come out that implicates anyone other than Connor Stallions, the American hero, in the sign stealing nonsense.
Yeah.
So who knows? But at that point, I don't think that Tony Alford is necessarily concerned about that. He could actually be concerned with what potentially might be coming down at Ohio State with the what was it? The impermissible access of practice footage from other teams or something like that. And again, who knows what's actually going on with that? We don't know any new evidence. I believe it was reported that did happen. Ohio State is being investigated for that, I believe. But we don't actually know if there's any teeth to that. So withhold judgment until we know what's going on. Tony Alford might be caught in the middle of all this too. Right now, he might just be looking at the difference between Ohio State and Michigan and saying, Michigan likes to run the ball. Ohio State doesn't really like to run the ball. Chip Kelly, he's a Pac-12 offense kind of guy, I believe. I think he really likes to throw the ball. So if I'm the running backs coach, I'm going to be like, all right, I mean, my guys are going to get, the put on the back burner in this new offensive system. So what am I going to do? I should probably go somewhere where they're going to use me all the time. He could be thinking right now, literally, he's going to put in a couple years at Michigan and then go take the OC job somewhere, or maybe even become a head coach, because he'll be featured. His backs will be featured at Michigan.
Yeah.
Because that's all they do.
I'd be curious. I don't know that he would go anywhere after Michigan. So he's been coaching for 31 years. He's been a running backs coach for 29 years. I mean, at this point, if you haven't found your head coaching job, I don't know that you ever will.
That's fair. How old is he?
He's a couple years older than me, I believe.
Oh, is he? Oh, he's 55. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, he's got 10 years ahead of him at least.
Yeah.
10, 12 years.
Maybe he just likes being a running backs coach then, which again makes sense why he'd choose Michigan. That's all Michigan does.
Right.
So he's a guy who made a career change.
Yeah.
That's all this is he's a guy who made a career change. He's a really good coach. Michigan's offering him more money. That might just be what it is,
Well, and a lot of the comments are about, what does this do to the rivalry? Does this make the rivalry more intense? Does it make it more angry? Does it, what does it do? And I think it definitely adds a really interesting element, because how many coaches have transferred to rivalry schools like that? I mean, we know Madison did. He went from Michigan to Ohio State. But I don't know that happens all that often. Let me grab a couple.
You've got Tony Alford as the new defensive line coach at Michigan. Nice job, dude.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. Where's our quality control?
Yeah, really. The fact that this is a 2-man gig is really starting to show.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to call out our boy Antoine is in the chat.
He's back.
What's up, Antoine?
Speaking of chats, let's grab a few chats here. What do we?
Let's grab some chats.
Oh shoot! Did it just reset on me? Oh yeah, this is my fun. This is a favorite one. This is a fun one.
Jimmy
losing
Watkins.
my words again. Jimmy Watkins sounds like a 7-year-old. Yeah, so he's the one who wrote the article.
Yeah.
Tony Alford's Michigan exit hurts because he was the last coach fans expected to betray the Buckeyes. The whole article reads like a 7-year-old wrote it. Just want to put that out there.
Wham! Favorite coach did bad thing to favorite team.
Buckeyes battle cry. Yeah, we feel your pain. We understand. He could have gone anywhere but chose U of M. My goodness.
I'm not feeling any pain. I'm excited.
Well, we said the same thing about Madison. Why? Why Ohio State?
Why?
Connor says Michigan runs the ball. Satan down south does not run the ball. Okay, we don't endorse calling Ohio State Satan. I just want to put that up.
I already chewed him out for that one. We're good.
So we get it. But this is also a fun one. McCord looks, fires, intercept.
Intercepted. Rod Moore.
Yeah. Gus Johnson is the best.
He's the
I love
best.
him.
We also like you, Connor Stallions. Thank you for playing with us. This has been great.
Okay, Clarence Edwards says maybe he knows this could be Ryan Day's last season, plus Michigan is old school, between the line, power run to play action style of offense.
Yep. Yeah, that could be all it is.
I think this will only be Ryan Day's last season if he has a season like the last 3.
That's really dumb. The guy's 50 whatever and 2 against everyone not named Michigan.
But this goes back to the other comment about the viewer comment about boosters sending that kind of money to the school and then Ryan Day not performing to the equivalent of that influx of cash.
But I mean,
if I give you 6.5, 13 million, whatever the number actually was, if I'm giving you millions of dollars to achieve a goal and you can't do it, I'm not going to be motivated to give you any more money. And once he loses that money, the NIL situation being the way it is, once he loses that money, he's losing the players and they're done. Unless they can get another coach who can say, I can do this. It's the name of the game. It doesn't matter that he has that many wins. It's the one win that matters.
But yes, it's the one win that matters. They compete for championships at Ohio State. I can respect that. They had Michigan's number for the better part of 20 years. I get it. All right. The guy is 52 and like 2 or 3 or 50 bajillion to single digits.
Yep.
Against everyone not named Michigan. To me, it's are you going to fire him because of that and potentially risk dismantling everything? I mean, look what happened after Jim Tressel got fired. And I don't think Tressel should have been fired. I think the whole tattoo gate thing is nonsense. But
yeah,
but he got fired, and the next season Ohio State goes 6-6. So I just you're risking that level of destruction by firing Ryan Day. Now, if Ryan Day goes 9-3 this season, then you might have to start asking some questions, especially because you've got Oregon and USC and Washington coming into the mix. You're going to want a guy that's not going to go. You don't want to wonder if Ohio State's going to make a bowl game every year just because they had 4, Pac-12 teams join. So I get that. But up to this point, Ryan Day should not be on the hot seat.
He shouldn't be. His record should keep him off the hot seat. But as we've said, it's really not about the record anymore. They're firing good coaches now because they're not getting to the championship.
Okay. Well, hold on a second. We're going to a 12-team playoff this year.
Yep.
Let's say Ryan Day goes 11-1. They lose to Michigan. Okay? They lose to Michigan, and actually at that point they could still go to the Big Ten championship. Maybe. It just depends on how it shakes out. But they lose to Michigan.
Oh, right, because we don't have divisions now. Yeah.
Right. But then they still make the playoffs, and they make a run. Let's say they win 2 or 3 games in the playoffs. I don't know. We've got 12 teams. How many rounds is that? 3, I think. 3 or 4.
Yep.
Something like whatever. Let's say they make a run. Is he on the hot seat then? Because winning a championship just got that much harder.
Yeah, he might find a way if he can. They might give him a break if he can find a way to get through the playoffs. But again, if you got through the playoffs to the championship, well, then he's done it.
Well, no, I'm not saying they make it to the championship. I'm just saying, let's say they win the first 2 games.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess that depends. I mean, that could give him, some breathing room, save his neck for another season.
That's so dumb.
But yeah.
I'm really sorry. I don't like Ohio State, obviously, but I respect them. They've got a really good thing going there. And I think Ryan Day, I think he's got 2019 Jim Harbaugh vibes right now, where the guy's a good coach. He just needs to tweak some things.
Right.
Yep.
Antoine is back. Tony Alford is being blamed for Ryan Day's inadequacies on offense. The problem is Ryan Day wants to be cute and pass the ball, so how can the running game flourish, especially with a weak offensive line? Now, hold up.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think that chip and dip will help Ryan. He only runs to open up his passing game. He's not dedicated to it, and the only reason why he runs today is because Harbaugh beat him with Stanford.
He's not dedicated to it, and the only reason why he runs today is because Harbaugh beat Chip Kelly at Stanford?
Oh, Chip Kelly.
No, Chip Kelly, maybe? He only runs to open up his passing game, and he's not okay, I see. He only runs. Yeah, okay, that's what I was saying. He's a Pac-12 coach, so he's going to be slinging the ball every game, so why would Tony Alford stay?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Antoine. You backed up my point, and I don't even know if you were on the live stream yet when I made the point, but you and I, we got this. Hope you're enjoying a good St. Patty's Day beer.
Jeff Hafley, former Ohio State DC, left BC head coach to be the Packers DC.
Wow, a lot of C's.
A lot of C's going on there.
Okay. Well, that's better than an assistant, at least.
Yeah.
And
Jason Bode says, I was happy to see Ohio State took Seth McLaughlin, the transfer from Alabama, who is Alabama's center. Oh, yeah.
The guy who fumbled all those snaps? Or he used
That's why
that last snap is the reason why they lost the game, dude.
That's why he's happy.
Oh, is he a Michigan fan?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. Yeah. Okay, I was about to be like, bruh.
Okay, here we go. Antoine explains the chip and dip. It's not Chip Kelly anymore. It's chip and dip.
What kind of dip? Because it's going to be really mild, too. Yep. It's not even, he's not even spicy dip either. He's just mild dip.
Yeah, here we go. Jason, what? You weren't a fan of his ground ball snaps?
Yeah.
NCAA is a paper tiger. They've literally gone 0-1,000 in court cases. Yeah, they're not doing very well there.
No, they're not.
They've got a couple more high-profile ones now.
I wonder what's going on with that Virginia-Tennessee one, if anything ever came of that.
I don't know.
They lost the first one, I think, or however that goes. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Moving on.
The NCAA, based on the evidence so far, has nothing. I think Michigan found a technicality within the rules, just like many teams in the past, because the NCAA law is vague and poorly written. Yes, that has been the complaint over and over again. Those rules are vague and unenforceable in some cases.
Yeah. And any team could have taken advantage of that.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I got it stuck in my head and I kept typing it. He's the running back coach. Where's my let's see here. Okay, Tony has left. Oh, I took it out of here. That's why I lost track of it. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
Ohio State is just hoping something happens to Michigan. Instead of beating us on the field, they're hoping the mighty Penn beats us. How pathetic. Yeah. Penn State's having a tough time beating Michigan these days.
The pen meaning writing with the pen. Like the NCAA hammer, not Penn State.
Gotcha. All right.
At least I think.
All right. The thumbs up, I will assume, is for changing the headline that I did a little while ago.
Something like that.
Oh, I'm going to... Wow, you guys have been active over here.
Yeah, really. Chat's been lit this time.
Way to go, guys. Appreciate it. You know that Ohio State got an SEC AD to help them buy and cheat rules. To buy and cheat rules?
Cheat rules, maybe? Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Huh.
Okay, wait a minute here. Ryan Day sounds like another John Cooper. Oh, from Michigan State?
No, from Ohio State. John Cooper was an Ohio State coach, wasn't he?
Oh, I think you're right. I think actually I think it was John Smith was the Michigan State coach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
John Cooper was Ohio State back in the early 2000s?
1988 to 2000.
Okay, late 90s. Yeah.
Okay, hold up here.
What?
He was the head coach at Ohio State from 1988 to 2000, leading the Buckeyes to 10 bowl appearances, including 1 Rose Bowl victory in 1997. Cooper compiled a career record of 192 and 84. Not the best, but not bad. He was a former National Coach of the Year and the president of the American College Football Coaches Association. This guy's not that bad.
That's what was Bo Schembechler's record? Was like 198 to 80 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know that his was actually that much better.
194 to 48. 5 ties.
Okay.
So yeah, so
No,
right in
that's
there.
Better. That's better.
Yeah.
But-
Of course, Bo retired in 89, so
Yeah.
just as John Cooper was getting started.
Well, and he went, oh my gosh, he's got 3 Big Ten championships with Ohio State too. You guys. Right. If Ryan Day is the next John Cooper, then you're not in that bad of a spot.
Right.
All right. Like,
Ferris Khan says the game is just a game now. The loser of the game might still go further in the playoffs than the winner and technically have a better season. Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
yep. Oh, okay. No, I get it now. We'll get to it in a second.
Okay. What's more important to Ohio fans? 50 wins or losses to Michigan. One of those losses to Coach Moore.
Yeah.
From Clarence Edwards. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty upset about losing to Michigan 3 years in a row. We got used to losing to Ohio State.
We don't care anymore.
We don't care anymore. Antoine says, the one thing you got to understand about Ohio State, they're obsessed with beating us. Yes. So he can go undefeated and lose to us and still lose his job. I know it sounds crazy, but you know how they are. Yeah. And I think, again, where we're at now is that has to do with the money.
Yeah, okay, but now if the regular season doesn't actually mean that much anymore, especially with all of the money going on with the new CFP expansion and all that kind of stuff, the game, just from a playoff standpoint or like a postseason standpoint, really doesn't mean that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But will they still fire him then? If he loses to Michigan, does the game actually mean that much anymore that a coach would get fired over it? Because I don't know. I mean, if he loses to Michigan every once in a while, or a couple of times in a period of time, I don't know, but he makes a run in the playoffs, or he still gets Big Ten championships,
Mm-hmm.
why fire him?
There you go. Buckeyes Battle Cry agrees with you.
Yeah.
Michigan
Okay.
is always the number one goal. Clarence, he's talking to Clarence there.
Mhm.
Ryan's not on the hot seat to me, but to many OSU fans he is, which is ridiculous to me. I think it's ridiculous too. Just to be fair, I think it's ridiculous. But I think aside from that, it's about the money. But we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
Look,
I like this quote here.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Ferris Khan said that Cooper was 2-10-1 against Michigan. That's his point.
That's the point. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I guess, but I think in today's game, that doesn't matter. Really, I don't think in today's game that matters very much. I think that in today's game, as long as you win, 10, 11 games, 9 to 11 games every season, you go to a good bowl game or you make it into the 12-team playoff now, you're a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, it's going to be I don't know. It feels to me like it could end up being the same sort of thing with the March Madness tournament, where it's like the coach is judged by how many tournament appearances he has or how far he makes it into the tournament. You know, like Tom Izzo is known as like Mr. March, and I think he's only got one national championship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not taking that away from Izzo. He's a fantastic coach, but he's only got one national championship. So I think that's how it's going to start turning into is that you're going to be judged by the number of times you made it into the playoffs, not necessarily how many games you won in the regular season.
Yep. Okay, so Ferris Khan says, how do these guys not know John Cooper?
Because we didn't care.
Okay, so a slight confession time. So John Cooper coached during a time in my life, and I'm not going to get real personal here, other than to say football was not a top priority for me. There was far too many other things going on in life at the time. One of them was the guy in the other screen there. He was a lad at the time.
A wee laddie.
A wee lad. So, but at any rate, actually, in the last, I don't know, I guess, ever since Mac has been old enough to pay attention to football is when I really started to pay attention to football again. And so now we're sort of backfilling a lot of that information and stuff. I did actually, I do know who John Cooper is. I just, sometimes I blank out, and I think, because I thought there was a Michigan State coach that was also a Cooper, but I can't remember exactly. But at any rate, that's why that's the case. So Jason Boat says John Cooper was a great Ohio State coach. Cooper lost to Michigan every year. Or at least most every year. Yeah.
He was one of Ohio State's greatest coaches.
Yeah. I think you two should look up the history of John Cooper versus Michigan. It is important. He literally had undefeated teams that lost to much worse teams at Michigan. I will look that up. That's
interesting.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Antoine says, if he loses to Michigan, I tell you one thing, he better win the championship or he's cooked. Yeah. I think that's absolutely true.
He's going to be a roasted bucknut.
Right. And in the case of the 12-team playoff, he'll have a shot at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You shouldn't, but whatever.
But he will. Buckeyes battle cry. Good question. The game has certainly lost some significance.
I mean, it'll still mean a lot to us, but
right.
Well, for now anyway, maybe. I don't know, because what happens the first time we end up what happens the first time we play the last game of the season and then play again the next week in the Big Ten championship and then play again in the playoffs?
Right.
You know? Ryan
Cooper Day. All right. Antoine says you're using logic with Ohio State fans. You're going to figure out why they call them bucknuts. Okay.
We're trying to be nice. Like, I don't.
Only way Day gets fired is if he misses the 12-team playoff. I think that's absolutely true.
Okay, so if he misses the 12-team playoff, that means that he took more than just the Michigan loss. That means that he lost to probably Oregon, and then I'm going to say one other team, but I don't know who Ohio State plays this year. They've got, from what I remember, it's not a tough schedule.
If Arizona is the mark, if that 9-3 record is the mark, then yeah, that means he would lose up to 4 games. You're talking 4 regular season losses.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if that 9-3 would be gospel though, because it changes every year. Like there might be some years where it's 2 wins or 2 losses, and there are sometimes. I think there was one year where a 4-loss team was in the top 15 at one point. But they lost to top 5 teams, so maybe that's why. But whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Day is just ridiculously unlikable. We're going to hang 100 on them the next time. See them, they'll need the mercy rule ever since he said that 0-3 against Michigan. Got to be careful there because Michigan didn't play them the year he said that. So
Michigan,
whether it really was COVID or Harbaugh really did sort of duck that game, from what I've heard, I think it's entirely possible that he did duck that game. I think he was I think that year he was just out of sorts. and beaten down so much he just wanted to get out. Which,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, that year, I think he was. There was a thing that came out that said he was really focused on trying to make sure that the season even happened. So, and that was when I think Mark Schlissel was still the president at Michigan, and Ward Manuel is Ward Manuel. He's not a good AD. And so Jim Harbaugh was basically fighting against the two of them to allow a season to even take place. And Michigan's going to try and attempt to take the moral high ground in everything that they do. And they wanted the season to be canceled. Mm-hmm. So Harbaugh was fighting his bosses to try and it sounds like Harbaugh was fighting his bosses just to get a season played. Also, Joe Milton was our quarterback.
Yeah.
So and not that he's that bad, but like he missed some easy throws.
Yeah. Antoine says, I didn't know you two were father and son. That's cool. Yes, indeed we are. Mac is my firstborn son.
I am also his only son. So
we did this. You know what? I actually found some old videos where we were doing this at the kitchen table.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was before you went to Western. It had to have been before you went to Western. So we used to do this at home. We didn't do regularly. It was like, I don't know, once a month or something. But we were able to do this at home. And then obviously Mac moved out. He lives on the other side of the state now. So we have to do it this way.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. This is fun.
There's a lake over here. It's really nice.
Yeah. There's a lake on both sides of the state. Come on.
Yeah, well.
Ohio State's schedule is very easy. Remember the stuff they were saying to us? You should be ashamed of yourself with that schedule.
Okay, but I'm going to say the same thing that I said when they were giving us crap about, scheduling our teams. You play who you're scheduled.
Right.
And that's who they scheduled. So whatever. Play the schedule. Have fun with it. It's still football.
Go Blue says if OSU loses 3 games, he'll just need $30 million for the next season. More money, more money. Connor says Harbaugh also had Don Predictable Brown. Yeah. Don Brown was not the amazing.
He was so good against everyone not named Penn State and Ohio State.
Yeah.
Man.
Antoine says people like to say Michigan was better because of COVID, like we were the only ones that had the exception or COVID players.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Michigan only won the national championship because they had seventh-year COVID players. Everyone else could have had seventh-year COVID players too, but they left.
Right. Were they 7th year though?
I don't know. I might be making. I feel like one was actually 8, but I have no idea. I know that a lot of them were 5 and 6 and stuff like that. So yeah.
But like having a 5th year senior is not unusual.
No.
The 6th year I think is odd, but I guess if you end up with a red shirt, you can end up being a 6th year senior.
Well, Sam Hartman was just playing for Notre Dame, and he's been in college football, I think, since before I was born at this point. Like, I don't know. I feel some player is on to like year 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up real quick.
All right. Okay. I'm not sure what. Okay, so Go Blue says to hell with that year. They bent all the rules to get a 7-win OSU team in the play. Oh, in a 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, the COVID year. I always say the COVID year just doesn't count because it was so messed up. The Big Ten really just yanked all the teams around. First, it was like, okay, we're going to play, and then, oh no, we're not going to play. Oh yes, we're going to play, but we're going to start in what was it, mid-October, and then if one player on the team tested positive for COVID, all of a sudden the entire team was locked up for 14 days. It was a mess. And I just, that whole year, I just think should just be taken off the books. At least for the Big Ten. The SEC actually played a full season. What do you got?
Louisiana offensive lineman Ken Marks started playing college football in 2015. He is now returning for his 7th year.
Jeez. Okay, Connor says 6th year Michael Barrett was the oldest dude on the team.
Okay.
I think that's right, because I think like Blake Corum is not as old as people think he was. I think he was 23 as the season came to an end, which is still in college age range.
Michael Barrett. I thought Michael Barrett, was he on the team this year? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to say that. Like, he was on the team this year, wasn't he?
Let's see. Michael Barrett, born in 99.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll get to this chat too. But yeah, Jack Tuttle, I think, is coming back for year 7 as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jack Tuttle. What about Quentin Johnson? I know he's coming back. I don't know how old he is.
Johnson, I think, would be a 5th year senior. I think. Okay, yeah. So Michael Barrett was in 2023. For some reason I thought Michael Barrett graduated in 2022. I don't know why.
All right.
But yeah, he started in 29. But he was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th year senior.
All right. Connor thinks there's a guy in Miami or Oregon that's in his 9th year.
Oh my gosh.
Clarence Edwards, welcome. First time viewer, definitely enjoy this chat. Isn't Tuttle year 7? Yeah. Did you just say Tuttle was year 7?
Yeah, I think. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. College football's Van Wilder of Oregon has just been granted a 9th, not just, he was granted a 9th year of eligibility. And that was, yeah. In 2022, he was granted 2 more years of eligibility to give him 9 total. So this would be his last season then. This year has been just McCormick's 2nd full season since getting to Oregon in 2016. During his 7 years in college, he's earned a bachelor's and a master's degree. He would likely take business classes or yoga classes, or pursue internships to fulfill the academic requirements to play this season. I mean, I enjoyed college as much as anybody, but
Yeah,
not that much.
Okay, Eddie George was going to take Ohio State to the promised land until Timmy B. Still, Timmy B said, "Hold my beer and watch this shit."
Tim Biakabatuka.
Biakabatuka.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then
Timmy
Go
B.
Blue says Biakabatuka.
Ah.
He was great. I loved watching him.
For the record, I knew that he was referring to Tim Biakabatuka before Go Blue said Biakabatuka. I just want to point out that we are real Michigan fans. We know who some of the players are, at least.
We know some of this stuff. Michael Barrett's last career sack was in the Rose Bowl on Bama QB.
Yep.
Which makes sense. It'd have to be the QB.
Yes, that would. Yeah.
Dude, it's 2 hours and 8 minutes.
We've been going for a while now, haven't we?
Yeah. Everybody watching this has been a fantastic chat. Love all you guys out there. Really enjoy the conversation. This is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Talking football, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun when we get into the season and those games are rolling. We have, just to give you some update on what we've got planned for this, the fall, is we're talking about live streaming a game every week. We're trying to figure out how that's going to work schedule-wise, because I don't know, schedules being what they are. But what we'd like to do is we've got a score picking system we're putting together that's going to be on the website, and you'll be able to log in and make your picks for the games. And then we're going to run a leaderboard and figure out prizes or something. I don't know. At the very least, we're going to, on Sunday evening, we're still going to do the live stream and, give props to whoever's in the number 1 position. And I don't know, it's just a fun way to gamify the thing and have some fun making score picks and money line picks and over under picks and all that, just to have some fun with it, just to interact with you guys.
Well, not money line, because it's not gambling. You're just picking who you think will win.
Right. Which is what the money line is. Money line is pick the winner.
Well, yeah, but money line is specifically for gambling.
Okay. We're not betting. There's no money involved here. It's free
Not
to
a
sign
sports
up.
book.
It's free to play. But it's going to be fun. And I hope you guys are all there to join us. And I don't know, Mac, anything else you want to add to that before we hop on out of here?
Yeah. Let me know which of you, what size shirts you need for the Connor Stallions as an American hero shirt. I'll get those made up and we'll ship them out. I'm not going to do that. We'll figure that out another time. I do want to do something like that, though. That would be hilarious.
Yep. Connor says, later, dudes, feel free to mess with Ohio State fans. Got a guy on my softball team who is a fan of them. I've been making lots of fun messing with him. It's fun. As long as it stays in the realm of, good-natured trash talk. I mean, it's all great. That's why we love having Buckeyes Battle Cry around. He's a great guy.
Yeah, subscribe to him if you haven't.
Yeah, he's got some great videos. And I think that's going to do it for us. Have a good evening, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy your week, and we will see you next Sunday. Mac, take us out.
This is the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. Thanks, everybody.
And go Blue.
Go Blue.